Our research intends to look at the differences between the flipped classroom setting and the blended learning classroom. More specifically, we wish to focus on the perceptions of students in each learning environment to determine if there is a benefit of one over the other. Technology has become more prevalent as a learning tool in classrooms today. Because of this, we have witnessed the fading away of traditional classroom settings that seem to be more instructor-centered to make way for a student-centered approach to learning integrated with these new technologies. This is what we term blended learning. Even with a blended learning environment, much time in class is still focused on the teacher providing information to students in the form of direct instruction and lecture. Recently, the flipped model has been gaining popularity, and we believe that this model will gain acceptance as a more effective method of teaching because it brings the emphasis of in-class time back to the students. The flipped classroom model works because it provides students with reading or a direct instruction equivalent as homework, usually in the form of a short video presentation or lecture that prepares students for more constructivist, inquiry, or application-based procedures in the classroom. The advantage of this method is recognized by giving students and teachers more one-on-one interaction time within the class. We believe that students will respond more favorably toward the flipped model over the blended learning model. Student motivation will increase because of anticipation for class activities over lecture, and they will feel more prepared by being able to watch the lecture videos more than once if needed. For our study, we will select a high school in Utah with a biology instructor that is willing to participate and feels comfortable implementing both styles during the school year with the same group of students. The students will all be sophomores, and because of restrictions in school districts regarding withholding of potential interventions to two different groups, we will use the same group with both instructional methods. The students will have 3 months of blended learning, followed by 3 months of the flipped method. The students will receive a Likert survey before and after each method of learning. They will also be interviewed using open-ended questions focusing on a what worked, interest, and engagement nature at the end of each method to open up possibilities into other avenues of understanding their perceptions. The students will not be compensated, but the instructor will be compensated for extra preparation time for implementing the new procedures and preparing instructional videos. We will be using one pre-selected group of students taking a biology course and will produce a short longitudinal study over the course of 6 months. Our independent variable in this study will be our introduction of the flipped teaching method, while our dependent variable will be the satisfaction or perception of the students in response to it. Our control will be the blended teaching method being used for the same amount of time. We will be using a mixed methods approach in order to understand the qualitative values associated with perceptions, as well as trying to gather quantifiable data by using surveys based on a Likert scale. An objective researcher will conduct the interviews at the school with a random sample of half of the students at the end of each instructional method. Our model for the flipped classroom will be taken from the Newton Adaptive Learning Company's model. This flipped model will equip students at home for 3 months by way of videos and instructional units, which will free up time in the classroom for hands-on activities, labs, and group work. Students will watch about 3 5 to 15-minute videos each week. Students will then receive instant feedback from the teacher in class, and the instructor can also review concepts that may not have been understood. Students will have to make time at school using school resources if they don't have accessibility at home. The blended model that we will be using is basically what we consider a traditional classroom learning environment, but with the integration of technology. Both learning environments will be used for 3 months. For our surveys, we will use inferential statistics to determine if sample scores differ significantly from each other. More specifically, we will be using the Wilcoxon Matched Pairs Signed Ranks test, which seems to be the best fit when using the same group and ordinal data such as Likert scales. For the interviews, we will be collecting perceptions based on qualitative values at the end of the study. We expect that there will be 3 scenarios that could result from this research. First, we may find a statistical significance of results in favor of the blended method over the flipped method. Second, we may find the statistical significance of results in favor of the flipped method over the blended method. And third, we may find that there is no statistical significance between the two methods. However, we hypothesize that the flipped method will show more favor. We recognize that there will be some threats to the validity of this research. First of all, there will be some difference in the way the learning unit itself is perceived based on the topic of study, but we will try to focus more on the learning method when obtaining the feedback. We also recognize that student motivation and drive to be successful in biology could have an effect on the results. Students may also miss class for activities or be withdrawn from the class altogether. Also, the honesty level of students when taking surveys could bias our data. These are all internal validity threats, and we include the fact that these are intact groups that we're dealing with, which implies potential problems with differential selection. External validity threats include a generalized heterogeneity. We recognize that these results apply specifically to this population and may not work for other populations. We suggest that more research be done with different variations of populations. In conclusion, the flipped classroom method supports the notion that the quality, not necessarily the quantity, of student-teacher interaction is a compelling force in improving student performance. There will be a need to do more research in other schools with different demographics, with the specific focus on academic achievement, but we propose that the flipped classroom method of instruction provides students with more satisfaction in the educational process.